Share some information about the Lacey Anderson Foundation. We were chatting about how long it's been since you spoken to our club, and it's been almost 10 years now. So I've been back today, so welcome. Let's see, John Carroll, will you do our invocation, and then following that, we'll have our pledge of allegiance.
Pray. Thank you, Mother Earth, for all you've provided. You've hosted life for millions of years. We've eaten your grains and basked in the green grasses under the shade of mighty trees. We have thrilled to your majestic mountain peaks, deep valleys carved by flowing rivers. You've granted us sovereignty over plants, animals, and rainforests. We ask now for your forgiveness for the damage that we have inflicted on your soul. We pray for the strength and courage to amend our ways and restore you to your amazing splendor. Our prayer on this day is to respect and honor you. And in this way, we too will be restored to our natural, loving, and fully spiritual lives. We acknowledge and request that the spirit that resides within us guides us and directs us in our efforts to live as one life, one heart, one spirit. Amen.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce coming together. John's going to introduce his packing guest that he brought today. So I introduce you to Tracy. How company? Okay, I got it right this time. And it's very enjoying. John?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have with me today Jeff Jones, studio designer with Interface, Carson Michael Archer, lead design manager with Interface, Kim Bond, director for Kim City's Bradfield Center, and Diane Harrell, executive director for a Troop Certified Village Community Program.
Give them all a warm welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all. For birthdays and anniversaries, I should not see birthday. September anniversary, so Barbara Keegan has a total of 20, 15 with our club, 5 with her other club. Thank you. Congratulations, Barbara. Jeff Bryant is celebrating years yesterday, November 12th. So, yeah. And then Mark Christian will have 1 year on Saturday, November 15th. So, congratulations. And no wedding anniversaries this week. Club announcements, we do have Barbara with one. Next year.
Good afternoon. I forgot I had to say the hat today, but as you can see, we have a little red slates out on the table again. And this is for collections for to help with the rent personal aid, phase food closet for the holidays. Also, we're trying to collect money for to supply business credit for our Rotary Town students. So please be attention to April 3rd, and thank you in advance.
Fair right.
Father Tim, will you please join me up here? Last week, we had our annual Walter Y. Murphy scholarship luncheon at the Rotary College. Dr. Baxter, thank you for for hosting us, where we presented the tent for our Walter Y. Murphy fellows, new fellows, and level. Bob Tim was not able to be with us, because church business sometimes calls you away. So last week, I was asking everyone, how do you got Bob Tim's last name? And everyone kept saying, I don't know, let's just call him Father Tim. I was asking Father Tim earlier, please let me pronounce your name. Now I've been understood why everyone's calling him. But, Gongella.
Yeah.
Polish, last name. So, Father Tim, Gongella. All right, so we are pleased to present you with your wife, Tim, as a Walter Y. Murphy Fellow. Thank you. Thank you very much.
But one more club announcement, we will have a board meeting next Wednesday following our regular meeting, so please be sure, mark your calendar for that. We do have time for a few happy dollars, if anyone has some news to share.
As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, next Friday, the 22nd, is our big fall event at the Academy, our big fast event. And you have the dress stores. Some of our video opportunities in our community are challenged already. So if you have gently worn dress clothing that you'd like our students to dress for their use, if you don't mind dropping those off by the chamber, we've been graciously accepted, of course, and they're out from the chamber. We'll have those Wednesday. So have those, please. Thank you.
Three, I had to write them down here so I don't forget. Sean, he graduated from the Navy, A school, C school, and whatnot. We moved him up to, he's up in Virginia now. Took him 18 months to get through it, so US is still producing good kids doing good stuff. Our youngest daughter, I mentioned a few months ago, she took off to Europe to go see some countries. She was able to knock out 13 countries, she safely returned, and did everything on buses. Cars, took one airplane ride, that's about it. So pretty high adventure for the and our oldest, he survived a second apartment fire for 2 years. Called in the middle of the night, said, hey, you know, the couple units down had a grease fire in their kitchen. But I guess we have fire codes here, they tell you, make sure you have some smoke detectors in each state.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, Vanderbilt beat Auburn.
So, we're looking all the Christmas now. And, 2 days now, one that, you know, our angel tree submissions have been made for all of that. We have over 500 children that are requesting, 500 children and their families are requesting, people to support them. We have several churches supporting them and individuals can also support them. So if you want to, please either see me or call Salvation Army, one of the two, and we would be happy to with a child or family to sponsor if you were to do so. Also, Rotary has been a Salvation Army. Always, you know, lead the way with celebrating dollars. Although the Kiwanis Club says that they're going to be this year, so I know that we can certainly not make that we can save them off. And it's going to be the second Saturday in November, second Saturday in December that we'll have coming up. So you please look at that, and Barb and Molly and I have been working together to try to make sure, and we'll have a sign up out, but we'd like to make sure that we're going to have both entrances at the Walmart on there on New Frankfurt, that we're going to have that. Well, we'd like to have just to make sure that we got those things covered, that way we'll have a big revenue day. So thank you.
This kind of my first time, so I wanted to make sure I could come up. I wanted to make two announcements. One, is thankful for about tomorrow. Joint Criteria will be presenting a journey to mental health for the Rotaract, the Grange College tomorrow. They're able to get continuing education units for the. And also next Tuesday, which is November 19th at 6:30 at our gym, 280 posted, we do have our minutes. So that is available to all men. We do have two professional ones, officer monitoring, which is the officer that he is a license. Also Dr. Christian Marks, which is a licensed different counselor. So we will be having a link to the men, we will have food, we will have a great night of conversation. And we just want to mention, it's okay to talk about your mental health and come out and share it, but again, bring out, some of these stigmas, some of the barriers, systems we have. Issues you may think that is affecting us today, to help and talking to them, who we need to talk to. Thank you.
Piggyback off of Joe, and thank Susanna for a great program last week. Joe, remind me of the number. How many dollars do we have left in the calendar?
After the match from the gifts that we received through last week, about 29,000 is remaining for calorie match. This does expire in about 1 year.
So the calorie match expires in November of next year. If you will start $100 donation starting in January of 2025, you can become the Walker Fellow back and do the meeting next year. One challenge y'all do it. This is Rotary's way to get the Grange College. $9,000 with the match. The endowment is over 500,000. We've given away over 200,000 in scholarships. Rotary Club. So challenge, we don't have any Rotarians who are it was a big push a couple of years ago, but not as big a push lately. So we'll challenge our group to wrap up the 29,000 before the match expires.
I wanted to make sure that we come to some, first of all, I think we ought to, congratulate Mike Wilson. He is the chair of the Homeless Coalition, and we are celebrating the 1 year anniversary coming up of the homeless center that we have called Ranch to Hope. November 27th will be 1 year that this thing has been open, and the reason that it all happened is really because Mike said, hey, we're going to go live, and this is what happened, because it's always kind of tough when you really start. And Mike was one of the ones who really helped us to say, look, we're starting. And it's been a really interesting ride. We've learned a lot. We've helped a lot of people. And, we have a lot of success stories. And we have people who we go, okay, well, hopefully next time we will figure it out. But there's the thing is that you are doing the work of just really helping the community. So it's been a great run, and we now are transitioning, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen the article in the paper, how the homeless shelter is now transitioning to where it's half of the diversity shelter and half of a transitional program that lasts from 15 days to 6 months, where you start to kind of transition out to be able to have your own place to live, and you've got a steady income and understand your finances. So congratulations to the homeless shelter, and congratulations to mine as well.
The great Rotarian story today, and really good things happening in the community, so congratulations to all of you on all that happening. At this time, I'd like to ask you, Director, to come our program.
Standing in for Trump today, extending his regrets, and was great to be here. But
It's my pleasure to introduce John Hill here to the club. John is the executive director of the Ray C. Anderson Foundation, which is a Georgia-based private family foundation honoring the legacy of the late Ray C. Anderson. Ray is also John's grandfather. He was the founder and CEO of Interface, the world's largest manufacturer of coffee tower, and a leading company committed to environmental sustainability. John shares his late grandfather's passion for the earth and our natural systems, and he is the author of Mid Course Correction Revisited, an updated version of his grandfather's book. That had to be quite interesting to go back and revise some of it and then by your grandfather. John also is the director of Project Drawdown, which I believe will be speaking and give us more details on today. Among his many accomplishments, he was named Georgia's 40 in 2021. He earned his Juris Doctorate from the University of Virginia Law School and also earned a bachelor's in history and economics from the University of Virginia. He's an Atlanta native with current Brian Cherry Hill, and young children JR and Cecilia. So let's give a little warm, great welcome to John Hill.
Very great for that introduction, Steve. Thank you so much, Tommy, as well. I'm glad to be here after 10 years. It's good to be back. A little bit more gratitude, John. That was quite an invitation. That really was something that moved me. I appreciate your word. And Interface friends, for being here. Thank you for all that you do each and every day to make the company even better than it already is, to advance Ray Anderson. It's good to see y'all. I will talk about the word, but y'all can brand new talk today. I've never done this, so either come to the VIP with guinea pigs and y'all can decide after. I'm going to talk about climate change. I'm not going to talk about big signs of greenhouse gases. I'm not going to talk about doomerism and warnings of the future that's coming. If I do this right, I'm going to talk about climate change in a way that makes you perhaps rethink some assumptions that people might have made. See it in a brand new light. Because this is, I think, the way people should be talking about climate change. But to begin, I want to look back. We'll do this with a little bit of storytelling, stories that you all know very well. Stories perhaps that surprise and reference climate change. In 1776, that took its meaning. This country was formed because the people who decided to give it birth said that this country would represent values and ideals that no country has stood for in history of humanity on this earth. We fought, people bled and died to establish this democratic republic. They did it because it was right. They believed in the principles that continue to underlie everything about our system of government. It was based on principles, doing the right thing. But what happened afterwards? We won that war. We established our independence. And we went on to plant the seeds of an economy that would become a force in the world. By unyoking ourselves from the British economic engine, we have the opportunity to begin to expand this country, not always by the best means, but things like the Louisiana Purchase showed that the beginnings of the American economy were proving to be fruitful. Prosperity was coming to the people. And it was at that beginning that we began to see that. Fast forward, the 1940s. Europe is in crisis, and the implications around the world are stark and tremendous. Fascism is confronting humanity in a way it never had before. Europe was bearing the brunt of that, and the United States had a choice to get in or stay out. And they got in. And they led shoulder to shoulder with our allies in Europe. And they won that war. They defeated fascism. It was our bravery and willingness to fight. It was also our economic ingenuity, ability to provide all of the equipment that the Allies' war machine required. We won. And what happened next? We enjoyed the fruits of that economic boom. The American economy went from an economy to the economy. leading the beginnings of a globalization effort that has yielded prosperity to Americans because of the bravery of the people who fought in Europe and in Japan. It is a story of America once again doing what is right, enjoying the benefits that came from doing so. We fast forward again, this time not fascism, but communism, socialism, and the threats that the Soviet Republic presented to the world. It wasn't blood that was spilled in this fight, but the Cold War became something that was just as dire as threats of nuclear war kept countries in the grip of fear for decades. This war we also won by investing in technologies of the future, getting to the moon first, outproducing the Soviets until they could no longer keep them. What happened after? We once again enjoyed the fruits, the prosperity that came from a good and moral struggle for what is right. The investments made during the Cold War resulted in advances in computer science, material science, the internet. This all was born out of saying we must prioritize America winning this war of the world. We reap the benefits that came from it. And still today, America is the largest, most prosperous economy in the world, and it's based in many of the technological advantages that have their roots in our struggle with the Soviets. When America does what is right, good, time and again, it's to our benefit and the benefit of our children. So if we stop looking back and we ask, what now? What now calls for American leadership? What calls for this country doing what is right? I tell you, it is responding to the climate crisis. I say that with complete confidence in the current science and a deep understanding of the economic implications that come along with responding to that. The economic implications of investing in climate solutions and the economic implications of if we don't. But set that aside, what is right? It is our children that will be here in 2100 and look back on what was accomplished this decade. And I believe that if we do what's right, and we leave them not only a climate stable world, but where we averted that catastrophe that's still probably not going to talk about. If we do it right, we leave them a more prosperous world. An America that was at the forefront of delivering that prosperity. We received it from those who came before in World War II and in the Soviet conflict. We owe it to the future generations to rise to this challenge. Why am I so confident that prosperity will follow? If we respond to the climate crisis as America leads, why will prosperity follow? Because I've seen examples of that prosperity. It starts with my grandmother's company. In 1994, Ray Anderson had his spear in the chest moment where he was convicted as a plunderer of the earth. He set out to interface and show the entire industrial world that if you prioritize the impact on the environment, you provide a better way of doing business, one that is better from a moral standpoint, but yields a greater profit. He completely dispelled the myth of the 1990s that you had to choose between profit and planet. The company, in the 13 years since Ray passed away, has continued to innovate and prove that doing the right thing is prosperous. Interface is one of the most successful companies in its industry because of its economic commitment to the environment. Yes, that's things like recycling and reducing its waste, less water per unit. But what Interface has led on for the last 8 years is climate. The Climate Take Back program, committing to making Interface a company that through its operations helps to reverse global warming. That's the new charge of this company, and they have come so far in that work that today, just down the road, Interface is making carbon tiles that mean less greenhouse gases are in the atmosphere than if they've never made it. How? They figured out how to take bio-based material and put it in the vacuum of carbon tile and still have a product that does everything it's supposed to. That's the sort of innovation that says our company will do what's right for the generations to come. Have they paid a price for that? There were investments they had to make. So yes, but investments aren't a pure cost. There's a chance for a return on it. Interface is winning in the marketplace because of their deep and authentic commitment to these values. But it's not just one company. And this is where the work with my family's foundation comes in. 4 years ago, we were thrilled to be a part of a group that launched a new initiative. It's called Drawdown Georgia. And the entire idea behind Drawdown Georgia was, can we fund research with some of the best universities in our country, right here in our state? Research led by Georgia Tech, the University of Georgia, Emory, Georgia State, to look at what climate solutions work best in Georgia. Turns out a lot of work goes into answering that question, but it was answered with a list of 20 high-impact climate solutions, not technology of the future, things today that are right for Georgia, that yield so much benefit when it comes to impact on the climate, but also are good for things like human health, that are good for things like racial equity, that are good for our national environment, and that create jobs. And in the years since, our foundation has been focused on nurturing a movement in favor of climate solutions. The work of Drawdown Georgia, what the research shows, and what has now been done with that research, shows clearly that there are many reasons for Georgia to be a leading, if not the leading state on climate solutions. Things like electric vehicles, which we're already doing. This is the EV capital of the world. Governor Kemp gets a ton of credit for that fact. But it's not just EVs. Georgia is the #1 forestry state in the entire country. And that industry means that the vast majority of counties around the state are already carbon neutral. The trees that they tend pull more carbon out of the atmosphere than all of their population emits. There are true climate champions who are shepherding the forest of this amazing state. Good economic benefits for doing something right. That's something that Drawdown Georgia has shown. Climate solutions are good for this state, even if the only thing you care about, and I don't think this is true of a single person in this room, but if all you care about is dollars and cents, economic opportunity, then you should be leaning in on making Georgia a state, the state that leads on climate solutions. Now I want us to cast our eyes forward. I situated this conversation to look back on America's role because it has a critical role to play going forward. China has committed to having a carbon neutral economy by 2060, and they are investing in it. China is running a race. The question is, who will run it with them? Why is China saying this? Why are they making investments into clean economies, into technology to reduce their carbon footprint? Not because they are saints when it comes to the climate, they're exporting a ridiculous amount of coal to other countries that's being burned by those other countries. China, and I'm speaking about the government, not the people of China. The government of China sees the future. If they win the race to a carbon neutral economy, if they win the race to an economy that is humming with all of its energy coming from renewables, they will have an economy that has energy costs that are practically zero. And they will be able to outcompete every other global economic power that doesn't keep up. That's what they're doing. It is a decades-long play, but the implications for our children and our children's children are that the United States could lose its hold as the #1 economic power that has done what's right so many times if we don't lead China to a zero carbon economy, I have serious concerns about the geopolitical implications of that. And so I would ask our country and the people who are proud to call it home to reframe how you think about climate. If you're motivated, as I am, by concern about the environmental and social impacts of a climate that we don't get a handle on, well, great, climate solutions are for you. But if you are simply a proud American who wants to give to the generation yet to come in this amazing country the same opportunity, the same prosperity that was left to us by those who came before, well, then climate solutions are for you. America must lead. It is not currently doing that. It is the moral imperative standing for this generation, next one to come, that must be taken with both arms so that we can do the right thing and enjoy the prosperity that comes from it. I mentioned 2100 and I'll close with this. Steve mentioned my son, JR, my daughter, Cecilia. When they were born, I did some math and I chose 2100. In that year, my son will turn 84. My daughter will turn 82. There's a very good chance that my children will live to see every day of this century that is left before it. And I assure you that the primary question will determine what kind of world they grow old in, what kind of world they hold their grandchildren in. The question is, what did we do on climate? Yes, we need to avert catastrophe. But what I really hope my children say to their grandchildren in their 80s is, America did what's right again. And because of that, you were prosperous. Thank you. Okay, I'm telling you, we do have time for questions. It means I did it. I didn't. All right. Yes, please, there.
Can you tell us what kind of research and breakthroughs are happening with carbon sequestration?
So carbon sequestration is happening in a number of spaces, and it's happening, we have to distinguish between a few different types. So common types of carbon sequestration are land sinks. And so this is not high-tech breakthroughs and innovation, but it has to be started with. We have a lot of land that's really good at doing what Mother Nature does, pulling carbon out of the atmosphere. Some of the most important things that can be happening around the United States and around the world is just simply saying, let's keep our carbon sinks that are the places where carbon can be sequestered. One of the most threatening and difficult problems to solve right now is actually in Brazil. The deforestation that is happening in Brazil is primarily because of increasing demand for feed around the world. They are cutting down the rainforest to raise cattle. And we not only have cattle, which are not great from a climate standpoint, but we've lost the carbon sink that's there. An entirely different type of carbon sequestration is carbon capture and sequestration. Turns out that we have the technology to be able to capture carbon coming off of point sources. In this case, you go to a fossil fuel power plant, natural gas or coal, and you can filter out that carbon. We're not getting all of it necessarily. And when you look at the system's impact of, say, natural gas, the impact on our climate that comes from natural gas is not just what's happening when we burn it. It's a cleaner burning fuel, clear as day, that's true. But a lot of it is leaking into the atmosphere. We don't even have good estimates as to how much, but when methane goes up in the atmosphere, you might see, if you're a nerd in this space like I am, that it's 25 times worse than carbon dioxide for the climate. That's only true over a 100-year time frame. Methane breaks down up there pretty fast. Carbon doesn't break down up there. It has to pull back with something else. It's up there. On average, 500 years of carbon. Over the next 100 years, methane is more impactful by 25 times. Over the next 25 years, shorten the time frame, it's 100 times worse. So you have to genuinely be concerned about leakages of methane and natural gas into the atmosphere. Carbon sequestration, carbon capture isn't going to be able to do that. And so we do need to, as soon as possible, move to the technologies that can displace fossil fuels entirely. I don't believe that carbon capture and sequestration is going to be able to provide an answer. Great if we are going to need to continue to burn fossil fuels for a certain period of time, which we are. We can't just shut off the American economy. That's not my message here today. Well, then we should capture everything that we can with the technology we have. But I'm not convinced that that's just the thing that preserve fossil fuel-based energy infrastructure. If you were curious about something else, I didn't get to pieces of that, I'm welcome to follow up. But that's what came to mind. Other question, and I'll talk about anything. It doesn't just have to be climate. Yes, please, John.
So, we must lead, and I fully agree. How do we get other countries that are with the mass deforestation? How do you think we can pull them on board also? I mean, this is something that even if we're successful, if the rest of the world is not. I mean, you mentioned us and China may be in a race. For both of us, maybe pushing towards something that might be good in the very end. The other countries, how can those come on?
Yeah, there's a couple of answers to that. One is I don't want to underestimate the power of American influence. We're, again, still the largest economy in the world. We carry disproportionate weight. And so if we lead, it won't mean that every country decides. And so I think that the pure act of American leadership can result in thriving opportunities for good climate action around the world, especially if our elected leaders talk about it. If we make it a priority, we're not quietly sweeping it under the rug, but we say that we're proud of this, that America will beat China to carbon neutrality, just like it beat the Soviets to the moon. You say that, and then all of a sudden, the rest of the world hears it, and it changes how they think about these sorts of issues. Another piece of it, though, is I believe America needs to help. Our prosperity, if we do it right, we share it. We always have. That's nothing novel. That's nothing new. And so if we want to have the economies that have not yet developed come along with us, we need to find the right ways to invest in their future, such that they can leapfrog on technologies. We will fail on climate change if every developing country starts with coal, goes to natural gas, and eventually goes to renewables. We don't have time for that. But they don't have to run through that game. If developing technologies around renewables, which are already the cheapest form of new energy generation in the world, if we share that with them, and we see the breakthroughs that I think are right around the corner on batteries, turns out that doing it with others is going to involve partnership and investment and economic opportunity with the technologies that China and the United States are going to be deploying. Issues around deforestation, though. It turns out that land use implications are about 1/4 of all greenhouse gases. We don't solve climate change by just using renewables. We solve 1/4 of climate change by using renewables. Land use is a big piece of it. And this is where I think that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to convince the Brazilian people to stop tearing down their rainforest. I don't have good answers. And I think it's okay to say that at times. But I still continue to believe that we should do what we can, which is to provide leadership the way America always has, and hope that holds people to the higher standard. Please, in the back.
Yeah, it's been about 15 years since I've been to Beijing, but it was a very rooted, city. I mean, it had very poor air quality, because of some of the manufacturing that was taking place in the way that they're doing it. Are the Chinese really trying to do something about that?
Yes.
I mean,
Absolutely, they have. I was there 15 years ago as well, right around the Olympics. And this is a crazy policy, just imagine. Before the Olympics, they didn't want all of the world's visitors to be coughing up black gum. They literally told every driver that if your license plate ended in an even number, you could drive on these days, and an odd number, you could drive on those days. It was that bad. But China is in this race. The amount of renewables that they're bringing online and taking advantage of natural gas development as well, which is displaced coal across the world as the primary form of new baseload electricity generation. China's air quality is not the envy of the world, but it's not what it was 15 years ago. They're getting the benefits. I tell you, there are so many benefits from doing better human health. China, the Chinese people are not facing the same air quality concerns they were. Yeah, please.
Just one more follow-up. What about the, precious metal, impact where China,
90%. 90% of rare earth minerals, the classification on the periodic table of the stuff that goes into our technology, that we kind of need to make it work. Yeah, it's very concerning. The good news is that China is a very globalized economy at this point. It's not in their interest to all of a sudden shut off the supply to the global economy, because I don't think the Chinese people would like that very much. All of a sudden, they went nationalistic and not globalistic with their approach to trade. I don't think that those supplies are under threat. This is where I look at some encouraging signs. A lot of what is currently happening in corporations across the United States, they're figuring out how to relocate things into the United States around clean tech. There are incentives for it. This is what the Inflation Reduction Act did, amongst a variety of other things. The CHIPS Act did it as well. I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to see the sort of investment into new forms of rare earth mineral capture that will take away the monopolistic hold that China seems to have. But I really don't think it's in their interest to flex that monopoly muscle, because there are negative implications for them. We'll see. How much time do I have?
Then one
One
question.
more. What's the last one? All right.
What role did you see in nuclear? It seems like we turned our back on nuclear, but it could have been free.
Could have been.
Prevented a lot of these bombs that we embraced 5 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, it's a messy one, a tricky one. Might be recorded. I approach the question of nuclear from the standpoint of somebody who very much wants a decarbonized economy as soon as possible. Nuclear is one of the safest forms of baseload electricity generation when you look at full supply chain. It is very close to zero carbon. There is carbon emissions associated with supply chain nuclear, and it's really expensive. So what does that mean? It means any nuclear power plant that's already been built, we need to run that sucker into the ground. There is no reason to retire nuclear power plants early the way that was done in Germany. That was very, very short-sighted. That said, that expensive part not changed. Vogtle, here in Georgia, way over budget. And the pass-through cost to ratepayers is not equitable at all, and is increasing energy burdens amongst disadvantaged communities. Really concerning. I don't think we should have built Vogtle. I do think we probably would benefit from if we built more nuclear power plants decades ago, but we didn't. So what should we do now? Old technology like Vogtle, it's a relatively old technology. Don't invest anymore. The economics don't pencil out. Even if we just said we're going to invest boatloads of money into renewables and battery backup, I think the economics of that, especially with coming breakthroughs in batteries, are better, reducing a long time to build. But we also need to invest in the future, and that's happening. There's incentives within the Inflation Reduction Act for investments into SMR, small modular reactors. These are the new technologies of the future. And I'm cautiously optimistic that this decade we will see those technologies commercialized, that you won't see new mega nuclear power plants built that provide huge amounts of electricity, but can you see smaller nuclear power plants built, all safety precautions in place to mitigate any concerns that people will have and provide smaller amounts of energy, but don't cost as much on a modularized basis. I think that's coming. And I know that multiple countries are investing in this space. Doesn't mean that we've solved the nuclear waste problem. I'm still concerned long-term about the fact that nuclear waste is radioactive for 10,000 years, even though the half-life of it being really bad over the next 100 or so. Still, don't love that, but I'm more concerned about not getting climate change right than I am about proliferation. Please.
I couldn't read it because I couldn't talk to you afterwards. I won't hold it back.
Connie says yes, I'm here.
See, all this time, yeah, my question. What I was just gonna ask mainly is because we talked and things, and I just wanted to know some of the things that Georgia is actually doing, some initiatives that they may have had to address this. Like you said, this goes into our government, and it starts from certain things and trickles down to us as in our counties and things like that. What are we doing? Because we talked a lot, I heard definitely a lot of logic in it, but what are some of the solutions that we're doing, that we can do as our state, as we can only help us really in our circumference?
Yeah, absolutely. Even though this is a national and global talk I gave here, I do fundamentally believe that climate action is local. Every climate solution exists where it is. If you take that frame of John and George, what climate solutions work best in this state? Spend some time on the website and you can unpack the data to give you a sense of the solution. Well, first, the 20 solutions I won't name them all, but I will name the 5 sectors. Some of those solutions are electricity. I talked a bit about that today. Turns out that transportation solutions are critically important because we put more carbon up from transportation than we do from electricity. 40% of Georgia's carbon footprint is from transportation-based emissions. We also have solutions in land things. Speaking to the question that you asked, our forests, they do a lot of good. We have solutions in food and agriculture. Right now, food and agriculture contributes to greenhouse gases globally. It can be flipped. You can have forms of agriculture that help you in carbon sink. And some of the solutions relate to that. One of the most significant ones in the food and ag space is food waste. If you just feed people with excess food, and if it's not going to go there, compost is at the end. Food waste and compost, 2 totally separate solutions, but both with significant benefits. They stop food from rotting and putting methane. Significant climate solution. And then the last sector is buildings and materials. The last thing I'll say is that, not surprisingly, the #1 solution, the one that can do the most good in pure greenhouse gas calculation standpoint in Georgia, is utility scale solar. It's putting as many solar panels out there, which again, really cheap form of energy. It has changed. Solar is the thing that has the greatest potential. That does require policy. It does require leadership from our utilities and oversight from public service commissioners. Let's go faster. I can't say that we're leading in that space. The last thing I'll point to in this one, though, is it's only going to be more and more important because economically, Georgia's got some really good tailwinds around data centers. These are being built all across the state. They are absolutely good for jobs. They're good for the economy in the state. There is going to be a cost. There's going to be water hungry. There's going to be power. We are going to fall further behind on making the total percentage of our electricity that comes from renewables be what we want it to be in the right direction. We're going to fall further behind if we don't go faster. So we have a lot more work to do in this case.
I would say we're further behind because of the argument.
That's right. Thanks, everybody.
Get an interview on her speaking today, we'll make a donation to Polio Plus, which is Rotary effort to eradicate polio worldwide. So thank you again. Couple of announcements and then we'll dismiss. First of all, so we've been challenged today. China can't be in, the Kiwanis Club can't be in. We need to give the Walter Watchman Foundation. So y'all think about those things late today. Next week we have speaker from the Georgia region, so please do that, come back for that, and then the 27th, no meeting will be ready for Thanksgiving the next day, so, and then lots of great programs to come in December. So as is our new tradition, can you please stand, we'll say the following time together. After the Thanksgiving day, is it fair? Thank you.